إنا لمسنا السماء فوجدناها مليت حرسا شديدا وشهوبا وأنا لا ندري أشر أريد بهم الأرض أم أراد بهم ربهم رشدا وأنا كنا نقعد منها مقاعد للسمع وأنا كنا نقعد منها مقاعد للسمع فمن يستمع كان يجد له شهابا رصدا وأنا منا الصالحون ومنا دون ذلك كنا طرائق قددا.
MashaAllah. This is one of the students of our academy. I just want to give you just very quick little brief. Maybe you know, or if you know, I just want to refresh your memories. Our academy was established 2014, believe it or not. With the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this will be our 10th year, 10th academic year, starting in this year in September. That is only happened because Almighty Allah blessed this community with this opportunity that we have Islamic school. Brothers and sisters, you all know what the school system is teaching to our students in this time. I don't have to go into detail, but you all know that one. If you have Islamic school here, what else we need? I understand there is some issue of transportation or maybe finances, but what you are going to invest here, Allah is going to multiply how much you cannot even believe it. Ask the parents whose children they are studying in there. Those du'as, al-azkar, they are reciting or memorizing. I have no hesitation to say this one. I wish I would have known those one. But those little children, when they tell their mom or their father, this is what we do when we eat. This is what we do when we get up. This is what we do when we go to bathroom or between, vice versa, other stuff. This is a blessing. And the other thing, quickly, I want to tell you, we are not only teaching the state mandate curriculum, absolutely the full curriculum, in addition to Quran and Hadith and Islamic studies, but also want to report to you that every year from the last few years, most likely after the COVID, we have started and contracted one of the state agencies. They come and they evaluate our students. And past in the past, and Sheikh Jawad can testify to that one, we have more than 80% of our students above average. MashaAllah. This is what we need here. So I urge you, please join hand with us, support your Islamic school, support the cause, and you all are invited on Monday, just 2 days from now, on May 8th, in Egg Harbor Township, the recreation center, not the community center, but we were not allowed to use that one. So the recreation center, we have acquired that one, and the address is 5045 English Green Avenue, which is, if I may simplify that one, where the current our Islamic school is, about 20 blocks afterward. You cross the Jersey Avenue, and then you will find on your right side. So 5045 English Street Avenue, and it will be EXT Recreation Center. Please do come. No later than 5 o'clock. We will be starting around 4 o'clock because there is a limitation. The government, the city government, did not allow us or anybody to stay until 9 o'clock. So that's why we have little logistic or time problem. Please cooperate with us. I know it may be difficult for some people, but make arrangements. Please do come. We have performance from our school children. We have a lecture, and of course, we have a dinner in your honor. Come, and we have the fundraising for our school, which we want to bridge the gap, which we are short all the time because it's Islamic school, and we do not get any funding from the government. Without further ado, I would like our respected Sheikh Jawad, to please proceed. Assalamu alaikum.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. First of all, it's very good to see so many of the faces that are recognized. And then so many faces that I used to recognize, but now they are like bigger versions of themselves. I've been completely surprised by all the little kids that are now grown men, and all the grown men that are now old men. So, subhanAllah, this is the way that the circle of life goes, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep everyone smiling. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep everyone involved in good, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost protect our deen. Now, today, in some time that I have left, and how much time do I have left, by the way? Until what? When is Isha? 9:45. Okay. So, inshallah, I'll ask you if you could give me maybe about 45 minutes of your attention, and inshallah, if you'd like to come closer, the brothers in the back, if you'd like to come closer, inshallah, maybe we can have a tighter, closer gathering, inshallah. So, the title, the theme that we want to touch on today are challenges faced by the Ummah. And of course, as you know, that I was an imam here in Atlantic City for 4 years. That was my first full-time imam position. Before that, I had been assistant imam, I had been part-time imam, I had been like a traveling imam. But my first full-time in the community was when I was here from 2013 until 2017. After that, I was able to go to Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, and I stayed there for 5 years. And last year, almost exactly a year ago, I moved from Georgia to Texas, Austin, Texas. So when I look back, my time in Atlantic City, mashallah, I've dealt with many people. Alhamdulillah, everybody I see here is highly educated, but I dealt with many people that were not very high on the education spectrum, not very high, a lot of people doing odd jobs, and that type of community demographics, it brings certain types of problems. Then when I went to Georgia, what I saw was a community which is on the opposite side, which is highly educated and high earners. Okay, that we used to joke over there that the best place to have a heart attack is at the hospital, and the second best place is at Islamic Society of Augusta, because the guy next to you is going to be a doctor, the guy on this side is going to be a doctor, the guy here is going to be a doctor, the guy there will be a doctor. So if you're not at a hospital having a heart attack, the second best place is to be at the masjid, because there's going to be a doctor taking care of you. So after being there for 5 years, I moved on to Austin, Texas, which is the capital of Texas. And it's an up-and-coming community. We have about, estimated to be about 40,000 Muslims in the Austin area. And every big tech company that you can think of, Apple, Google, Tesla, semiconductors, Texas Instruments, every big website that you can think of, every big tech company that you can think of, they have either their main headquarters or their second headquarters in Austin. So this brings about a lot of engineers, okay, software engineers from all over the world. And alhamdulillah, the masjid where I am at, we are very happy that we are a place where everybody feels at home. There are other masajid where they might be like slightly more Pakistani, or there are other masajid that are slightly more this way, or slightly more, a particular angle in some way. But alhamdulillah, the masjid where I am at, Islamic Center of Hershey Creek, we make a lot of efforts to make sure that everybody feels at home. And we have people from 36, 35 different nationalities, and they're not like 1 or 2 people, but alhamdulillah, good pockets. And these are engineers, and engineers, as you know, are problem solvers, right? You give them a problem, they have to go and research, and they have to bring about a solution. So, alhamdulillah, this is now my 10th year, just finishing being an imam. And what I'm sharing with you are some of the problems that I have faced and I have dealt with in the last 10 years as a full-time imam. So, and they're not in any particular order, but I want to bring to light that while it is very easy for us to get lost in small little minute details, we have very, very serious problems that we have to deal with as an ummah. And we have to mature out of those tiny baby problems. And we need to deal with the bigger issues at hand. And again, I'm going to mention some of these problems, and they're not in any particular order. All of them are serious. The first one I would say is the lack of religious commitment. Okay, now how many would you say is the population, the Muslim population of the Atlantic City area? What would you say? No, not 5,000. 13? 15,000? In Atlantic County. Okay, let's say that it's 15 to 20,000, okay? Upper estimate. Now, out of those 15 to 20,000, let's say 15,000, okay? How many of them do you see at Jummah? It's very easy. If you just calculate the numbers that each masjid is getting on Jummah, right? Assalamu alaikum. If you just calculate how many of them are coming, they're probably less than 1%, right? 1% is 1,500 or 15,000, right? That's 10%, sorry, right? 10%. So they are less than 10%, maybe less than 5% if you put all the Jummah crowd together. Now, if you put together the Eid crowd, okay, in the Eid crowd, you might get something like 40 to 60% of the crowd that comes, right? The question that leaves us is, where are the rest of them, right? And even the Eid crowd, you only see them at Eid and you don't see them for the rest of the year, okay? And the Jummah crowd that we're talking about, you only see them at Jummah and you don't see them at the rest of the week. So what are the population, what is the number of people who are coming for the 5 daily prayers?
Zero.
Between all the masajid, would we be able to say that there are 100 people who regularly come to the masjid every day? If we have 100, it would be very good, right? But we probably have 10 that come here, 15 that come there, 12 that come there, and probably all of them together are less than 100 people. Okay, so that is less than 1% of the population that's actually coming to the masjid on a daily basis. Okay, so now everyone who has a problem with the length of somebody else's beard, tell them, brother, is this really an issue to be worrying about right now? Now, this is the case where right now we're assuming that this 1% of the people that are coming to the masjid, they are coming to the masjid, and the rest of the 99% people are actually Muslim. Okay, but we have a serious problem brewing there as well, which is that a lot of these people who are only coming to Jummah, who are only coming to Eid, if you actually talk to them and interview them about their lack of their level of iman, you might see that many of them, they may be even questioning basic tenets of faith. Okay, what is on the rise in the Muslim community is what is called agnosticism, right? Agnosticism is where a person believes in God of some higher power, but they don't do any religious practice. Anything that they do, they're doing because it's cultural, because their mom and dad is saying, okay, beta, you're old enough now, we have to do your nikah. But if his mom wasn't there, he probably wouldn't even care about bringing an imam to do his nikah, right? So what you have there is, and then you have among the youth, if many of the issues that concern the adults, the youth, they are even hardly holding on to iman and Islam. We're not talking about sophisticated issues of Aqidah between the Sufis and the Salafis. We're talking about, do you really believe in Allah? And many of our scholars said, the Prophet ﷺ said that the 5 daily prayers, right? He said that this is a differentiating factor between us and them. So if you take that, and you look at the Muslim community in just Atlantic City, in the Atlantic City area, how many people would we be actually able to say that these are actually Muslim, that they're doing their 5-time daily prayers? Okay, so this is something for all of us to think about, that before we start, arguing with each other and fighting with each other and dividing with each other over petty issues, what we have is that we have people that are struggling in basic iman. And then on top of that, one time I had a brother here in Galloway when I was here in Atlantic City. So I was talking to this brother for some time, and I said, I need you to come to the masjid. He was looking to get married. I said, look, I cannot help somebody get married to a religious person that I might know, someone who doesn't come to the masjid. So I need to see you at the masjid. The first day this brother came to the masjid, there was a big fight. And I went up to him, I said, brother, I'm so sorry. This is not how it normally is. It just happened to be today. Please don't allow the shaitan to whisper to you that this is how the masjid is, because that's exactly what shaitan does. He tells you they're always fighting over there, they're always hungry for power, they're always this, they're always that. So even that one guy who cleans his heart and he comes to the masjid, even he is driven away by the masjid going people's behavior with each other for the sake of Allah. Right? And I hear stories of people giving each other vile curses. Right? It should not be the case that if you're doing it for the sake of Allah, to basically be insulting someone. Our Prophet ﷺ said that the Kaaba and its surroundings are less valuable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a believer's honor and property and his life. Okay? One believer, meaning what he's saying is that if you have a choice of insulting and dishonoring a believer versus demolishing the Kaaba, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is worse is to insult a believer, because the Kaaba can be rebuilt. It is the believer, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is more honorable to him. So that's one big issue. What we're having now, if you look at, I gave you the numbers at the masjid right now. Many of you, I see all of your Facebook videos and pictures and whatnot. So some of you go to Melas, right? Melas, festivals. And how many people show up there? Couple of thousand people, right? And if you do a Mela every month, they will show up every month. But the same people are not showing up to Jummah, they're not showing up to the Masajid, they're not showing up to Salah. So that shows us, brothers, where is our priority? What are we working on? The next issue, major problem, is every single Muslim home. There are very few exceptions. Very few exceptions. Almost every single Muslim home has marriage problems. Okay? Husband and wife either can't stand each other, or they're living together under one roof. The husband is providing the finances, the wife is taking care of the house, but they don't have any other relationship. It is strictly down to business. Like, okay, food is ready, and did you pay this bill, and that type of stuff. And there's no courtesy, there's no love, there's no compassion in so many Muslim homes. So, so this is my 10 years evolution, right? So I used to think that the main problem in the Muslim community was the youth. Okay, so I said, okay, let me focus on the youth. So as you remember, that we used to do youth programs and whatnot. So after some time of doing those programs, I came to realize that the problem is not in the youth. The problem is in their parents. Because you send your kid to a youth program for 1 hour in a week. The best possible youth program cannot counter the other 23 hours of that day, and then every other day, 6 other days. We cannot counter that in just 1 hour. So what needs to be done is that your home needs to become a youth program. Your relationship with your kids needs to be strong, and communication needs to take place, and there needs to be better parenting. So then I said, okay, so from now on, I'm going to focus less on the youth, and I'm going to focus more on the parenting, because if we can fix the parenting, then that means that this kid, even if he's not coming to the youth program, he's getting that same tarbiyah at home. The communication channels have opened up. So then I started to work on that, and then I started to realize that parenting cannot be improved because the husband and wife cannot stand each other. Okay? They have a problem between themselves, and that's why you can't really help with parenting, because they're not talking to each other. In order for them to actually raise their kids properly, they themselves need to be on the same page. And then one of the saddest things that I see, and inshallah, I hope that no one here does it. If anyone does, this is your day to make tawbah. One of the saddest things, I see brothers, sisters, religious, practicing, going to Hajj and Umrah, fasting, doing i'tikaf, doing qiyamul layl, and all of those things. And when they get into an argument with their spouse, they start to call their in-laws the worst of curses and names. Have you ever heard about this, right? Bad-mouthing your spouse's family. And it's something that every single one of us knows that, you know what, you could come and punch me in the face, it's easier for me to forgive. Instead of you coming to me and saying that, you know what, your family is a family of thieves. Okay? Or your family is low class. Or you guys came, you were janitors and we picked you up and we gave you respect and look how you're talking back to me, right? And this happens from both sides. And the worst, the saddest thing, like I said, is that I see the brother and the sister who are doing this to each other are extremely religious brothers and sisters, right? Praying qiyamul layl. How could you do that? Our Prophet ﷺ taught us so many things. Where is your salah going? Where is your siyam going? Where is your qiyam going? If none of that is teaching you, then at the very least you shouldn't, if you don't like your in-laws, just remain quiet. You don't have to insult them, you don't have to call them racial slurs, okay? You don't have to, this one sister, she said that her and her husband, they had a fight, and the husband said to his mom, "Mom, I'm so sorry, I brought this piece of to your house." And I said, "Brother, how could you say something like this? How could you say something like this? This is the mother of your kids. Even if you don't like her, you are stuck with her for the next 18 years until your kids grow up. At the very least, just be pragmatic and realistic and understand that you need to make a good life with her." Now, our Prophet ﷺ, what we see in the time of the Prophet is that the Prophet ﷺ, how many wives did he have at one time? The maximum he had is 9 wives. Okay? Out of these 9 wives, all of these wives, they were not, you could say, the lovey-dovey type of relationships. Okay, meaning that the Prophet ﷺ did not deeply fall in love with this woman and he marries her, which is completely honorable in Islam, right? If you love someone, you marry her and you honor her. Many of the marriages of the Prophet ﷺ some of them were political, right? In order to make peace with a tribe, he marries the daughter of Abu Sufyan, radiallahu anhu. Afterwards, he became Muslim. Once he married the daughter of Abu Sufyan was the head of Mecca. Mecca never attacked Medina after the day that the Prophet married his daughter. Okay, immediate threat neutralization through marriage. Now, you and I, what we would do is we would tell that wife that, look, I only married you to make peace with your people. I don't care about you. You stay in your room, I stay in my room, and nothing, right? But the Prophet ﷺ, he would treat every one of his wives equally, and he would speak good words to them, even though they were, you could say, political marriages. But now you're married, and now you have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your behavior, okay? Now, sometimes people say, well, yeah, you know, I understand what you're saying. I shouldn't be bad-mouthing her family. But she does it to mine. Right? And I tell him, brother, don't you know that we have to answer for ourselves in front of Allah and not for someone else's behavior? Allah will not ask you what your wife said about your father. Allah will ask you what you said about her mother. That's what you have to answer for in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first and foremost thing that we need to fix our own behavior. Now, the second thing that we said is, number one is almost every Muslim household. So I have 2 appointment slots in my schedule every day that people can go to our website and they can schedule time with me. about 90% of them are marriage problems. 90% of them are marriage problems, and they're always the same problem. Sometimes they start talking, and I could pause them and I say, let me just complete your story. And it's always the same thing, and it's always has to do with not controlling your tongue. Our Prophet ﷺ, he taught us a simple rule, which is that when food was put in front of him, if he liked it, he ate it. If he didn't like it, he didn't say anything bad about it. If you just adopt this methodology, 90% of your problems will calm down. Now, that would decrease the toxicity. There still needs to be work done to improve the relationship with each other, but at least you're not throwing more bombs at each other through your mouth. Now, another problem that occurs is a very serious problem, and I know that for many people, they're very concerned about this, and it's a very scary problem, which is that the amount of Muslim women who are marrying, or sometimes not even marrying, non-Muslim men and living with them. Okay? Now you might say, why is that happening? What's the reason for it? What can we do about it? I'll give you a simple example, right? So right now, do we have any brothers here that are looking to get married? Raise your hand, please. Okay. Yeah. Second, third, fourth, I'm not included. Just the first one right now. But inshallah, sisters, I will see you outside and I will tell you who are the brothers who raised their hands for second wives. Anybody have any sons, daughters looking to get married? Right now? Looking for rishtas? Yes? No? No one here looking to get married? Okay. So here's the problem, right? Now what we do is, our kids go to school, they go to college, they go to work, right? So, you know, Khalid, let's say example name, Khalid and Abdullah and Muhammad, right? They go to school. Who's sitting next to them? Stephanie and Jennifer and Tiffany and, you know, all these, you know, Lily and whatnot. And they, what is that?
Catherine and Amy.
Oh, Catherine and Amy. That's Brother Rafiq that gave me those two names. Sister, you need to watch out. Okay? So what's happening with Khalid and Muhammad and Abdullah is that when they go to school, they say, hey, Jennifer, how are you doing? Jennifer says, oh, thank you so much. Wow, your food smells so good. And, you know, she comments on him, he comments on her. What happens is feelings start to develop, right? Or even if feelings start to develop, he can watch her because he goes to school with her, he goes to, you know, work with her. So he's watching her, he's like, okay, I think she's a good woman, I can marry her. And he says, would you like to marry me? Whatever, right? Now, when he comes home, he says, son, let us find you a Muslim wife, right? He says, what are you going to find me? I haven't seen any Muslim woman, right? Why? Because what happened is, when he was coming to the masjid, mashallah, the masjid was so protective of the brothers and sisters seeing each other, that what ended up happening is that the brothers are now finding wives outside, and the sisters have the same thing. Sisters are not seeing any Muslim brothers in the community. They're not getting a chance to meet them. They're not getting a chance to talk to them, even with in a professional, respectful manner in any way. So what happens is that Aisha and you know, Khadija and Fatima, they don't see Khalid and Muhammad and Abdullah because they come from a separate entrance. They are in a different room, right? And then they go out. Now, Aisha and Khadija and Fatima, they do go to work and they go to college. And over there, Tony says, hey, your hijab looks so good today. These colors look so good on you, right? And he is commenting on her. And she is like saying that, you know, I never got love at home. I never got anybody to say sweet words to me. And now here Tony and Michael and John are saying these words to me. So, and then their parents want to marry them from back home, and they don't want to do that. So what ends up happening is one day they come home and they say, Mom, Dad, I want to marry Michael, right? Now, the mom and dad, they lose it, and they come to the Imam in an urgent state of emergency and say, Imam, can you please talk to my daughter? She wants to marry this guy. At this point, her and Michael have been talking for maybe a year, 2 years already. They are really into it. There's nothing that could be said to them that could make them change. Maybe you could convince the girl that, you know what, tell him that I will marry you if you take the Shahada. So in some cases, the best case scenario, he says the Shahada just to get her parents off their back, just so that they could get a green light to do the nikah and go on. And most of the times, he does not practice Islam. He wasn't serious about it. He just said it to just satisfy the parents. Okay, now at that time, people come and they say that, Imam, what can we do? Please talk to my daughter. And I don't have any magic pill, right? No Imam has any magic pill. But the solution to that is that when your kids are starting to reach that age, even in high school, at that time, the adults, the uncles and the aunties need to find a platform in order to get those singles together so that they could actually find a suitable spouse in the Muslim community. Okay? If you don't do that, then what's going to happen is what's happening now. There are lots of cases where the guy says, no, I don't want to become Muslim, but I want to marry you. And she says, okay, well, he's not ready right now, so I'm going to go with him anyways. And a lot of times, she basically goes with him anyways, without nikah, without shahada. Okay? Now, situation is getting so bad that there are parents that if their child brings home, if their son brings home a girl, they should thank Allah that he brought home a girl. And if a girl brings home a boy, the parents should say, Alhamdulillah, and they should make sujood. And I'm not talking about nikah here. I'm not talking about marriage here. If she is involved with someone from the opposite gender, that itself is ghanima. Because that is happening so much in the Muslim community, that Muslim boys, those boys and girls who grew up in the masjid and Sunday school and whatnot, they are coming home with a same-sex partner and saying, this is the person that I want to be with. And what are we fighting over? You didn't say Ameen out loud, right? Or you didn't raise your hands after the ruku. We're fighting over these issues. SubhanAllah. Open your eyes. Tomorrow in Central Park, we have an effort out of Austin, Texas called MATE, where we started to get Muslim singles together to help them find other Muslim singles to help them get married, right? So this platform, in just 1 year, it grew from a few hundred to now 5,000. Okay, 5,000 Muslim singles desperately looking to get married. Some of them have been looking for 3-4 years. And 80% of these 5,000 are girls. 80% of these 5,000 are girls. And that's why many of the scholars are saying that Muslim men should not be marrying even Jews and Christian women right now. Okay? There are so many Muslim women that are waiting to get married that if you don't have enough men, they are going to have no other choice but to go outside the faith. Right? So they're saying that this is something for a time, which was a different situation. In our situation, Muslims need to marry within Muslims. Now, parents, you really, really need to think seriously about what are your priorities. If your priority for your daughter is that she only gets married to a doctor or an engineer, you might not get a doctor, you might not get an engineer, you might not even get a boy. Okay? So if she brings home a Muslim, if he happens to be from your culture, alhamdulillah, that should be enough, right? I say that, it's ideal that you marry within your culture because there are less problems to work through. Intercultural marriages, there are more problems to work through. There's lots of trust issues that happen because of that. So ideally, you should, first, so when your kids reach high school, you start telling them, beta, beti, the first thing that we want from you and the last thing that we want for you is that they need to be Muslim. They need to be Muslim. And if they can be from our culture, our language, so when they come to, here's the thing, right? And I want the young people to think about it. Imagine you marry somebody who is Chinese. When you go to her family gatherings, everybody is having fun talking in Chinese and you're just sitting there alone, right? When she comes to your family, Everybody is speaking in Bangla, laughing and joking, and she's sitting there alone. And she doesn't understand anything. Shaitaan immediately comes and tells her, they're talking about you. They're laughing about you. Okay, so it's always preferred that you marry first and foremost within your own culture. But even if that is negotiable, what is not negotiable is Islam. So tell your kids that if you like someone, come and tell us about it. Don't react like a desi mom who picks up her chappal and says, "Come here, I will get you married right now," right? But rather say, "Thank you for coming and telling us. We will help you. Let us know," and guide them before they find someone. Once they find someone and they get attached to them, it's too late. Very hard to take them off of it. It's better to talk to them and tell them, this is where we want you to be happy, and this is the criteria. Just look for this and stay within that. Anyways, so we already talked about the rise of alternative lifestyles, right? Basically, people, the first time I went to Austin, and a brother came to me and he said that his son is living with another man. And this son of his, he was raised in Arab countries. Okay? Gave him the best of education and all of that, and raised him over there, brought him here for higher education, and he met someone who basically, father thinks that he just brainwashed him or something, but it's not just brainwashing. It is that there was something in his son that was exploited by the other guy. And now it's like, it's beyond any issues. So there's also a problem of atheism spreading in the Muslim community, okay? Is what? Let me ask the adults over here, right? Everybody here says we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But if I ask you, can you prove to me outside of Quran and Hadith that Allah exists, that there is a God? Because science is telling me that all of this is a series of accidents that brought us here, okay? So who can answer this question from parents? Most parents are not prepared to answer that question. But what they do with their kid is that, how dare you ask such a question? So that kid, he shuts up. He says, if they don't have an answer, that means there is no answer, right? So they say, okay, right now I need my parents' help. I don't have anywhere else to go. So they stay there up until they're able to get out, and the day that they can get out, and that's why so many kids, they don't want to go to college by commuting, right? They want to go away from home. One of the reasons why they want to go away from home is because they want to break the chains of their parents. They want to be free, right? Very few unfortunate parents have children who say, no, we will live at home and we'll go to school in the morning and we'll come back in the evening. But a lot of times, so you have, these type of questions are rising. Muslim parents are not ready for them. The right answer is, you know what? I don't know the answer to this. But let me take you to someone who does know the answer. And bring them to Imam and bring resources into your community. I have one of my professors who's actually visiting United States soon, in the month of June, and he is an expert on this issue. He's written a book about evolution and new atheism, and what are the attacks against Islam from the so-called science perspective, okay? So he has addressed these issues in an amazing manner, and you will be doing a bunch of seminars, but we need those type of resources in our communities to prepare the parents, right? So that when your kids come up with those questions, you can answer them. Now, another problem that's happening is with regards to our sisters. Okay, with regards to our sisters, honestly, frankly, I would prefer that the sisters would have been with us downstairs here, right? So that we could see them, they could see us, right? If we were to do this lecture, if I just said to you that, okay, you know what, I'm not coming, I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to do this lecture, you all gather here and there's going to be a screen here, you watch it. How many of you will come to listen? None, right? And even if you came here, how many of you would actually pay attention and listen, or how many of you would be on your phones? The vast majority would be just distracted, right? And there's kids running around, and there's no one there, there's no presence there, so it's very difficult to pay attention, right? So our sisters, when they go to college, they're able to sit up front, right? When they go to work, they can be wherever they want to be, right? Now, Islam does not say that you have to have a hard and fast physical separation. But there needs to be some sort of separation where there is no crossing of limits. So for example, let's say, in some masajid, what they do to deal with this issue is that they have a set of chairs set up here on this side. This is where the brothers sit. You have a set of chairs set up on this side where the sisters sit. And in the middle, maybe they put like a line of tables, or maybe they put like a curtain or something. And the sisters, now, you brother maybe came last minute and you can come sit right up here. And maybe there's a sister who came 2 hours in advance, but the best seat that she can get will be somewhere upstairs which you can't even see, right? So now you imagine, now this is okay with aunties, this is okay with the previous generation, but the younger girls that are coming, that are growing up here, it is very difficult for them to understand, and they interpret this as saying that Islam does not give women equal treatment. And outside, the enemies of Islam are banging the drums of inequality of women, right? Now the parents say, no, beta, Islam believes in equality, every person is equal and you have equal access to knowledge and whatnot. However, when she comes to the masjid, she experiences inequality right there, okay? So we're not saying that bring everybody together and pray. Prayer is where the men pray in the front, women pray in the back. But other than the prayers, if there's a reasonable method to allow the sisters to have full experience, VIP experience, just like the brothers can. There might be sisters who are more willing to learn than any of you brothers put together here, right? But now we basically gave them a second-class citizen status. And I don't know if you know any masjid, but there are many masajid out there where even the entrance of the woman, it goes through the dumpsters. I don't know any masjid like that. Do you know anybody? No names. No names, right? So now this young 13, 14-year-old girl, Ramadan comes, her iman is high, she wants to come to the masjid, and the first experience that she gets is that she has to walk through the dumpsters. Maybe there's a raccoon eating from the dumpster, right? She has to go through a dark alley in order to enter masjid from a side door, as if like she is like a criminal that is kind of trying to sneak into the building, right? But rather, if anything, the brother should be entering from there, and the sister should be given an easy, well-lit entrance. But subhanAllah, many of our people have this backward mentality, and they say that back home, this is what we did. The thing is that everything that you did back home is not working over here. If you don't change, you will lose. And we are losing. And my brothers and sisters, I tell you, a sister came to me once, okay? A sister came to me once, and this is a sister who was the typical Desi auntie, okay? Wearing like shalwar kameez and, really bad English, wearing a dupatta, just like the old school, as if she just came off a plane. She told me something. My body started to shake from nervousness and stress of what I had just heard. This woman, she came to me and she said that she did something inappropriate with someone where she was working. And I expect this from what type of a woman? A very modern dressed woman, open hair, no hijab, right? Good English, she's out there. This is the one that you would never imagine. If you had to bet $1 million that this woman could do something like this, you would say she would never do something like this. And it shook me that, subhanAllah, the attack of Shaitaan does not spare anyone. The attack of Shaitaan does not spare anyone. So no one is safe. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ told us that the marketplace or the world itself, the outside world, is the ma'rakah, is the battlefield of Shaitaan. Okay, he's there trying to get as many people as he can get, right? Now, the masjid used to be the place where you'd have to come out and the woman would basically stay at home. The Prophet said the prayer of the woman is better in her house. And her home was completely safe. There was no TV there, there was no internet there, there was no radio, there was no newspaper, there was nothing there. So if you left her home, when you come back, you would find her the way you left her. Okay? But now, if you leave the woman at home, what is she doing at home? She's watching Desi dramas. She's watching movies. She's watching TikTok. She's watching Facebook, YouTube shorts, okay? And subhanAllah, when you left her, you might think that the Prophet said that her prayer at home is better, but we are now living in a situation where it's actually better for her to be at the masjid, because the home is not safe as it used to be in the time of the Prophet anymore. Hopefully, you come to the masjid and here there's some remembrance, some dhikrullah. So this is better. And some of the scholars have said that normally a woman is not supposed to come to the masjid during her specific days, but in our times, if there's an event, if there's a program going on, a woman should come even in those days, because her home is worse than the masjid now. Okay? Back in the days, the home used to be a safe place. Now it's not a safe place anymore. So what's happening also, by the way, is that some of these women and some of these young people, they come to the masjid and they have a bad experience, and what's happening is a new type of institution is popping up all across America. And it is called a third space. A third space, where it is not a masjid, it is not an Islamic school, it is a hangout club for Muslims. Okay? Now, what's happening is that everyone who came to that masjid and had a bad experience, they are like, okay, you know what, I still want to hang out with Muslims, but where can I go? Somebody says, hey, we have this place where we get together. There's no bearded brown men who are ruling you or bossing you around. Everybody can come and be treated equally. We have nice sofas, you can come and sit, and we have a program. Everybody can sit, in a nice open, modern type of style. So a lot of our young people are being attracted to that. Okay, now some of these places are being used by some wise people in da'wah to bring those people who are never coming to the masjid, to bring them to the middle spot over there, build their iman, and then encourage them to come to the masjid. But then there are some people, Shaitaan, who are using those spaces to pull people out of the masajid, taking them there, and there they are bringing them lots of bad ideas. Okay, we have in Austin a place where there is a Qadiani lady, Ahmadi, the people who believe in a prophet after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She gives the Jummah khutbah in this place. A woman who is not even a Muslim, right? She gives the Jummah khutbah, and she's attracting all of these young ladies that might be sitting here who are feeling disenfranchised because of their experience. They're saying, you know what? You could come here and you could be on the stage if you want. You could sit right up here. No one is going to tell you, go to the back. This is what the brown uncle does, right? So the hegemony of men is causing young women to rebel against them, right? And what's happening is that you're having this issue of women and young people being driven away. Does anybody know what's the official term for this? It's called unmasked. Okay, mosque, unmasked. That these people, they went to a masjid, they went to a mosque, and they have had experience, and they feel like they have been kicked out, they have been driven out of the masajid, so they are unmasked now. Okay, so you're having this issue as well. And you think about your melas that you have, your festivals, they're basically your current temporary third space. Okay, if someone said, you know what, let me get a place and we're going to do this every day, you will see that that place will be more full than your masajid. Right? And what are we fighting over? The most minute of issues. Lastly, a serious problem that we have is disunity among ourselves. And in what way? So of course we have disunity on the issues of Aqidah and things like that. But if you send me a message, I'll send you inshallah a lecture that Sheikh Yasser Qadi, he was once asked to give a lecture on how do you bridge the divide between the Salafis and the Sufis, which are kind of like two extreme strands within Islam. So he said, look, in today's day and age, any imam, any sheikh who is bringing these controversial Aqidah topics, theological controversies, to the Jummah khutbah, the man doesn't know what he's doing. Because the people that are sitting in front of you, They are struggling to even believe in Allah in the first place. And here you want to bring some controversy about, the descent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or things like that. There's a time and place to teach those people who are already firm Muslims. But if you have 99% of the people who are not even firm Muslims, and you're bringing these controversial, divisive issues to the main stage, you're basically driving even these people away. So he said that if you talk about great scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah and whatnot, they wrote books on Aqidah. He said that if you were to ask them today to write a book, they would not be writing about those theological controversies that existed in Middle Ages. They would be talking about the struggling to remain a Muslim, the struggle to be a 5-time daily Muslim prayer, right? The struggle to stay out of a haram relationship. These are the most important things. And of course, there's the haram income problem, right? The haram income, which of course, alhamdulillah, no one in Atlantic City has, right? That, this is one of the scholars say that the test of the Muslim Ummah in America is haram income. Everything else is perhaps easier to deal with, but the biggest temptation is that halal, you have to struggle, but haram comes so easy, right? Haram comes so easy. So this is, some of the issues. And another issue of disunity, by the way, is our nation-state identity, okay? Now, basically what happened is, that in 1914, the British and the French ambassador got together. They got together and they basically had this vast piece of the Muslim world, and they literally carved out pieces. He said, you take this, you take this, you take this. So British England went to some countries and occupied them because there was nobody to stand up to them there. France went to some countries and occupied them. Belgium went to some countries and occupied them. Portugal went to some countries and occupied them. Spain went to some countries and occupied them. Italy went to some countries and occupied them. Every single Muslim piece of land basically became a occupied territory of the colonial powers. Now, they lived under that for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, then rebellions broke out, okay? Now, before this happened, most of the Muslim world was united under one leadership, which was the Ottoman Empire. You were the Muslim Islamic Empire, okay? You were the citizen of the Muslim state. The only other state basically that existed in parts of India were small little states, but there was basically, if you were to count the amount of Muslim countries in that time, you would maybe have 4 or 5, right? Because one of them is so big it covers almost all the Muslim land. So now, in 1914, when they divided up these areas, and then after 20, 30 years, rebellions broke out in all of those countries, they said, okay, we have to leave, so what do we do with this land? Do we give back to the Ottoman Empire that we took it from? Ottoman Empire is gone. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to carve out this piece, and we're going to call it Afghanistan. And we're going to carve out this piece, we're going to call it Pakistan. We're going to carve out this piece, we're going to call it Bangladesh. That later, India, and Egypt, and Morocco, and Tunisia, and Algeria. And literally, they sat down without having any idea about the population, about the geology, about the demographics of this area, and they literally drew lines on the map. So you have, for example, Peshawar, right? Khyber, the frontier province in Pakistan, that the Afghanistan and this province, they are basically same people, same families. They just drew a border in the middle, so now they're in 2 different countries, okay? And this, basically, they didn't know what they were doing, but they divided up. Now, what they did is that they said, okay, we're leaving, but here is your border, you take care of it, okay? And here's a flag for you. Now, what we should have done is that we should have said, you know what, we need to figure out a way to unite under one banner. But what we did is that, no, I am standing under this flag, and my first and primary allegiance is to this flag, okay? If you are not from there, then you are someone else, right? So our Muslim identity became secondary, but our national identity became primary, right? So we are now Pakistani Muslims, and we are now Egyptian Muslims, and we are now Bangladeshi Muslims, and we are now Afghani Muslims, right? And what happens is when there's a janazah, it depends who died, right? It depends who died. It's only their people that show up. And the other people say, oh, sometimes a brother said, he said, just an example, he said, an Afghani brother passed away today. I said, brother, what are you doing? Do we not have enough division in the Ummah? Just write the brother's name and say that a Muslim brother passed away today. Let everybody try to attend the janazah of a Muslim brother and the end of discussion, right? But of course, what happened is something that we talked about in the Jummah khutbah today. It's called generational trauma, right? Some of ours, I see most people are a bit younger now, but many of your parents probably, my grandparents, they lived through those ages where that division took place. And there was trauma that occurred, okay? 1971 trauma, still alive within us, right? We are still living through the division of 1971 here in 2023, right? We're still living through the other divisions that took place. We're still living through that right now. That's called generational trauma, that our parents told us that, for example, the white man is bad. Actually, our parents told us the white man is good, right? So we still have this idea that white is better, black is bad. Okay, so the darker you get, the lower you go on the totem pole. And we still have these ideas within us. And it is really a shame that we still have to deal with these issues. That if you happen to be a light-skinned family and you bring home a Muslim girl who is a good practicing girl, but she is a darker shade, mom and dad says, Beta, how will we show our face? How will we show her to the rest of our family? Right? And this is signs of Jahiliyyah that still exist within us. But still, what are we fighting over? Tiniest of little things. Right? I'll end with this these problems with this one little quick thing. One of my teachers, he said that one day he saw that these two kids came to him and they had an argument with each other. The argument was what? He said that this one kid, he had a box of crayons that had 200 colors. And this other kid took one of his crayons. And this kid was crying that he took one of my crayons. Right? And he said that I looked at them, and he said I couldn't stop myself from laughing. And he said that, I said, SubhanAllah, isn't that what we all do? Look at the kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the treasures of Allah, how vast they are. And we are crying over not even that one crayon, maybe that little tip that broke off from the crayon, we are fighting over that. We are fighting over that. So this is something that I wanted to raise some of these points, and I want to just quickly mention what is the solution to these problems. What is the solution to these problems? Number one is that we need to develop intellectual and spiritual humility. Okay? We have to, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, تِلْكَ الدَّارُ الْآخِرَةِ نَجْعَلُهَا لِلَّذِينَ لَا يُرِيدُونَ عُلُوًّا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فَسَادًا. He says that the home of the hereafter is for who? It's for, we have made it for those people who do not wish to be elevated in this life. Okay? If you want to be recognized as a big man, Allah is saying that the home of the hereafter is not for you. The home of the hereafter is for the person who doesn't want to be elevated in this life. He wants to remain a humble servant of Allah, just doing what he can, not caring about, well, if you don't put me on stage, then you haven't given me respect. Right? If you don't give me equal time to the other guy, you gave him 3 minutes to speak and you gave me 2 minutes and 50 seconds. You insulted me by those 10 seconds. Right? This is the thing that we need to get rid of. We need to fight that ego that's inside of us. Number two is that we need to develop leaders among us. Okay? And Umar radiallahu anhu, he said that the type of leader that I look for to appoint as a governor, as a commander of the army and whatnot, he said the type of leader that I look for is a person that when he doesn't have a position of leadership, you look at him in the crowd, and you say, wait, is this guy the president? People say, no, he's not the president. Oh, he must be the vice president. No, he's not the vice president. Is he the secretary? Is he the treasurer? He's like, no, he's nothing. He's like, then why is he doing all of this? Because he feels that this needs to be done, so he gets up and he does it. Right? So he said that I'm looking for a person that when he doesn't have a position, he looks like a leader. And then when he has a position, he says when he has a position, he doesn't look like a leader, right? You come and you say, where is the president over here? You know, sometimes you have this, like the throne setup, right? And you immediately walk in, you're like, that guy must be the king because he's sitting on the throne, right? But you know that Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he was one of the wealthiest people. And he had slaves, right? Slaves basically like employees, right? Hundreds of them. Because he had a big business and they used to run the business and whatnot. And he said that if you went to see the man who is a millionaire and the man who is a slave, you could not tell the difference which one of them is Abdurrahman ibn Auf. The man who was given the glad tidings of Jannah, the man who is the wealthiest man in Ummah, you cannot tell him different apart from his slaves. So he said, I'm looking for a person that when he doesn't have a position, he looks like a leader. But when he has a position, he looks like a regular person, right? That's the type of people that we need to develop. And number one is that we need to say, look, if something needs to be done, I need to get it done. I need to go talk to the right people. I need to pull the right resources. I need to get it done. It doesn't matter what position I have, right? So we need to have this type of leadership development within our communities. And lastly, the scholars have said that there are three things that we need in order to help, in order to survive as an ummah and to sustain our iman. There are three institutions, okay? What are these three institutions? That they have to be healthy and they have to be working well in order to flourish and protect the ummah. What is it? Number one is masjid. Number two is school. And number three is home. Number three is home. Right now, what is the status of our masajid? You judge. What is the status of our Islamic schools? You judge. And what is the status of our homes? You judge. Okay? Now, what we need to do is we need to engage in jihad. Jihad means struggle. We need to work hard towards establishing and protecting and stabilizing these institutions. Okay? And we need to make sure that we are dedicating resources. So in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you need to do jihad with two things. You need to do jihad with your wealth, and you need to do jihad with yourself. So jihad with your wealth is to donate to these institutions to help them develop. And jihad with yourself is to sacrifice your own comfort and give back in the form of service. And the service to your home is to spend quality time with your family. The service to your school is that most of our schools don't have enough of a budget, right? You know, what is the budget that you have on the Islamic school per child? $4,000, okay? $4,000. Does anybody know what is the average budget for per child in a public school? Last time I checked several years ago, on average it was $12,000, okay? So the Islamic school here in Atlantic City area is running on 1/3 of the resources. But now people's expectations are twice that much of the public school, right? But you have to see the reality that once you reach the level, okay, we can put the same amount of resources to it per child in the school, then you can expect the same level. But alhamdulillah, the brothers and the sisters who are working there, the teachers who teach there, no one does it for the money. Right? No one does it for the money. Unfortunately, there are people out there that are very good teachers, but they need to have a good income, they need to have a better income, and they cannot teach in Islamic schools because Islamic schools don't have money to pay them, right? So that's why don't consider Islamic school to be someone else's project. Consider it to be your project. Don't consider the masjid to be somebody else's project. It is your project, right? In a masjid, the basic thing that we need to do is we need to go and pray there. We need to go and pray there. That's the first thing. In the school, the basic thing we need to do is we need to send our children there. And if those children don't have enough resources, we need to help them get those resources. And in our home, we need to be present ourselves. We need to spend time talking to our spouses, talking to our children, having discussions with them. they say that you should have at least one prayer at home with your family and pray in Jama'ah. Pray in Jama'ah. So inshallah, I will end over here and we'll open the floor for a Q&A, but I just want to mention that inshallah on Monday, we have a program at the Egg Harbor Township Recreational Center. It is not at the EHT MCOSJ Community Center, it's at the Recreation Center. The flyer is posted elsewhere. We have the address. So inshallah, we want to, on that day, we're going to be talking about the first creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the first creation of Allah? What is it? The qalam, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the first thing He created was the qalam. So think about how important knowledge is, reading and writing is for a believer. So inshallah, we'll be talking about what we have about the qalam and its implications in our lives. And inshallah, it will be followed by fundraising for the school. Again, we ask everyone to support the school. If you can't support it with your heart. If you can't do it with your pocket, make dua for it. Say, Ya Allah, send someone to do this. Ya Allah, send someone to do this. And remember that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to do it, He doesn't need us. We need Him. We need Him. So inshallah, I hope to see all of you, and I request that you also spread the word to other friends and family members who couldn't be here to come join us on that day. And inshallah, the word is that there's some good food coming over there, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you have any questions, inshallah, we can take them or we can talk on the side, inshallah.
Thank you very much, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Yuval. It is very inspiring. You always give us the best and enlightening our hearts. And as he said, inshallah, on Monday, the topic will be legacy of the pen. Please do come. You all are invited. And as we said, our school children, they will perform. You will be amazed how good they are. And inshallah, the parents will be there, the community people will be there, and Sheikh Jawad will be there, and then we have food and we have a fundraising. Just want to mention one thing. All faces you see, Brother Magdi, myself, and Brother Umar, and other board members, we all work voluntarily. Our teachers are the lowest paid employee there, but they work with a passion because they have mission to teach our children. Can you imagine the little children? They are in pre-K or in kindergarten. The teacher, they give them more love than like a mother. I am not questioning mother's love, but can you see it? They wash them, they clean them, because those little children, they do what little children do. They clean them, they wash them, they feed them. The children sleep there. Just have a mercy, just have a pray for us, make a dua, support us. It is your school. We'll be here today, we're not going to be here tomorrow. But this institution should stay. It should stay. It should stand. Support it. It is your children. It is your future. It is our future. Jazakallah khair. Brother Alam and I ask the other brother, please do help. We need to send some food to the sisters downstairs, and we have little snacks up here. So we help, and then we will be ready, inshallah. And if anybody wants to donate, this is not fundraising, but they cannot make it there. I ask everybody, but if anybody wants to donate something, Jazakallah khair, it is always welcome. Thank you.
Address of the.
Oh yes, the address again, one more time. It is not where our school is or the community center is. About 20 blocks after that, it is 5045, 5045 English Creek Avenue. Thank you. The flyers are there if somebody want to take it, so that will be more helpful. Thank you.
Okay, let's we can talk on the side. Let me just.
Jump in. Stop it. This one. How come you don't get the recording? Cheap phone. What is this? So how do you stop it? How do you stop it first? Yeah. Sadly, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Oh, you know what? You can email me. And broadcast.